Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Friday, March 6th. Thank God it's Friday. My first week of crazy stuff going on in the Middle East is to an end. First trading week of March. And so far, the market is still in a holding pattern. We had a bunch of weakness this morning, though. Definitely not looking like it's a strong open. We do have a bunch of news come out this morning. So that's going to be an interesting one to pay attention to. News this morning is employment situation at 8:30, retail sales at 8:30, and we get business inventories at 10. Not going to be worried about that, but the employment situation and retail sales both coming out at 8:30 this morning, and margins are obviously popped up if you get the broker alerts, and we are looking at a day could be pretty crazy. It could go either way. It could be a big down day, could be a big up day, could be absolutely a doldrums kind of a sideways day. Overall, right now, market is starting on the downside. So we're down here on the ES. You can see the attractor area. We were up here for a while. Now yesterday we start taking out this lower the 68.15s. We have been holding in that lower area, or we were up actually above it for a while in the overnight, and then in the London session, they took it right back down below it. So yeah, we're back down here testing support, and we'll see how that employment situation is going to come out. So either way, if it takes out the 67.60s, the lower area, I think at that point we have to stay on the short side, more waiting for them to run it all the way down to the 66.40s here, 66.50s. So we can start finding support in that lower area again. There is a lot of range down here. This is the first area of Suki's big area of support, 66.30 up to the 66.50s, and then 65.30s. That could be all the way down. So we'll see where they're going to go. But we have pretty good news coming out here this morning. Well, good news, and we have pretty significant news coming out. Good or bad, I don't know that just yet. So starting off this thing, I would start off with given the overnight right now, a little slight bias to the downside. See if they want to try to retest the lows. But I would just wait for that news to come out, get past us, and then see what the market is, where the market is at that point. If they're going to try to, if it looks like they're going to try to take this lower, or if they're going to retrace back here to value. If they get back up above that 68.15 level, and this is going to be right here, this is the resistance area. I think we are back in the range. If they for some reason take us out the midpoint 68.80s, I may start thinking about the long side and see if they can run it up here to the 69.30s. So it depends a little bit on how this whole thing develops this morning, where we're going to go with it. But needless to say, if the 67, 50, 60 area, in other words, these three support areas in front of us, the 66.80, or sorry, 67.85s where we are trading right now, they took that out. They probably a little bit below it. I wanted to cover that M print. So here you have M from yesterday. That's the low of that last half hour, or then the 12 to 12:30 time. Here then you have the 67.75s. Here you have the 67.60. So these three support area comes out. At that point, I think we are heading lower. Still looking for buying opportunities on the way down, just not as aggressively, and just looking for a lot more confirmation before we start doing anything on the long side. Now, if it starts trading up, I would look for short setups against the 68.15s initially. If they trade above that, I would kind of take off the short bias, go back range bound. Still looking for shorts against the 68.30s, 68.45s, 68.55s, up to that 68.65 level for rotations down again. 68.80 is your attractor. Again, back up there. I would probably expect them to just go sideways from there. So we'll see how this develops. But given the overnight, given the what's going on in the world, and that what's going on in the Middle East right now, it looks great. You never know how that whole stuff like that's going to turn out. Right now, it looks pretty good though, and I would expect them to kind of annihilate these guys pretty quick. The only problem right now, and you can see if you pay attention to oil, they have spiked in the overnight up to the 85, 86 level, and they were down. They closed yesterday. They were trading in the 80s, 79, 80s. and now they're up $6 in the overnight. So it could be something which happened in the with oil tankers and stuff like that. But right now they're trying to shoot at oil tankers. So that obviously creates a problem. So until they can resolve that and get these guys shooting at oil tankers to kind of disappear, then we pretty much have a risk there. But you never know. Even if they dominate the situation there, they still, it doesn't take much for a little boat with an explosive to run into a ship. You just had to be really vigilant about it. So it's a lot harder to snuff that out. But they're going to try to keep that stuff going and keep oil prices high, and we'll see how that whole thing shakes out. But oil prices high, obviously not a good thing. So a lot of volatility in oil, energy. Market a little bit on the weak side this morning. Pretty key news, the retail sales and the employment situation coming out. And I'm going to see if we're going to get some strength come out of this, or if the market's going to have a bad day. But we have a pretty good tell. 67, 60s here, this support area that comes out. I would be a lot more aggressive on the short side, looking for rotations lower at that point. All right. So that's how we get started on the ES. On the NASDAQ. On the NASDAQ. We are pretty much back in this lower range. Nasdaq never really made it back up here towards these highs again. They kind of been meandering a little bit lower. So they're still right in this range. Also, still overnight weakness on the Nasdaq. They were down here probing below my imprint as well. They were down here in this lower range. So we'll see where they're going to go from there. But it's right now, given the overnight, a little bit of weakness, starting off with a slight bias to the downside. See if they can take it lower. And once the news passes and we know what's going on with the market reaction to the employment situation and retail sales, we know if we're going to be on the short side or not. So I would key in on this area, this 650. It's from the 630 up to the 700 level. So you're looking at so these two support areas. If both these support areas comes out, I think at that point we have we are heading lower, and I would just be on the short side of that. So 60 here, 6,000. So if they take out this support area, I would say the 670s, 675s. At that point, I would start leaning in on the short side a little bit more aggressively. At that point, I think they're heading lower and taking out this bigger area, and next level down is going to be down here at the 380s. So. And that can happen pretty quick on the NASDAQ. That's not a lot of range on the NASDAQ to go if they start taking this lower. So, and if they initially look into sales strength against the 912s, also 910s, the 970s, 25,030s, 90s up to the 140s for rotations down. Looking to buy weakness against the 830s, 780s, 730s down to the 680s here, 670s, 80s, rotations back up. If these lower support areas comes out, that's when we start thinking about a little bit more aggressive on the short side. The long side, I'm not that. I think the short side is the more likely side. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. The market is just looking for an excuse to sell off. So it's like, sometimes you have this risk on kind of stuff going on, but market is just finicky. Too much stuff going on, I guess. But if you get some good news on the employment situation and market like it can certainly turn into a rally. So I would just not be expecting that. And if they take out that 120 resistance area, I would be a lot more aggressive on the long side, thinking that so now they a little bit more of a risk on kind of a day. So. We're going into a weekend. A lot of stuff can happen over a weekend, but I think the key surprise we had, in other words, the hostilities starting, I think is past us. So that knee-jerk reaction is not happening. I don't think we'll see big surprises. The most concerning thing I can see, which can impact the global situation, would be if they really get successful in hitting tankers and stuff like that, that would be probably leaning on the market a lot more. It would come through energy prices spiking and then getting the market all spooked. But we will see how that shakes out. It's not much we can do about that right now. Don't watch it. But news-wise, both ES and Nasdaq starting off with a bit of weakness. So we're starting off on the short side to see if they want to take this lower. We know when to change our bias on the downside. Either take out key support and we start heading lower, or they that holds and we start staying a little bit more range bound. Maybe even see a little bit of strength. Who knows? Who knows? Sometimes the market opens up weak like this and you get some strength in the afternoon. But we know what to look for. We know what the levels are at. Looking at the bonds, they are to the downside again. So they're heading lower. They're heading down to that 115 mark right there. Pretty close to it now. It's a little bit in the overnight here, but not much happening right now. So we'll see. So they're starting the bonds on the short side again, against looking for shorts against the 116s, 116.05s up to the 116.10s. Looking to buy against 1525, 1520s for rotations back up. So that's pretty much how we get started. We'll see. I mean, I got burnt a little bit on the last time when I had it was down in overnight, and I tried a short on the way back on the pullback. And that was also a pretty good setup. It was ideal level, setup, trigger, all that stuff lined up, and the freaking guys who ran it right up here, like a whole point after that. So yeah, there was no shot at getting in and getting out of that trade, but you know, I'm still thinking short side right now. Let's see if that sets up. And I'm looking for that for my little bit my stall, and then if it looks like it's developing, I'll try a short trade on the way down here if they can take it lower. Again, just waiting for the news to pass. The news can change anything. The employment situation comes out and it's something happens or the reaction is volatile. Yes, so you know that if it's a directional move, in other words, it's not the it's not yes, just volatile, but it is an actual directional move, then we can fall back more of a news day trade. That would be a quick trade after that, a continuation trade. But we'll see. It has to be a pretty big bar for that to be valid, you know. So not a little baby bar. It has to be like a significant bar, directional bar to develop before you start looking for a news day trade. And that's there you have it. That's how we get started this Friday. Let's see how this whole thing goes. About 10 minutes before we get news come out. So you go get yourself some more coffee and get ready and get Friday. So maybe get a few minutes, you know, over the weekend to go down and do some fishing, get some relaxation going. And just so you know, I'm still working pretty hard on that Coinbase integration. I have the data solution is ready. I have a data server running, recording stuff and pulling back, and so you can get backfill more because Coinbase doesn't have backfill available too. So I had to build that solution. And I'm right now working with the synchronization, position sync, because they do things different. They don't have this daily reconciliation or daily end where they reset everything every day. It's open, so it's the fields I just keeps running. So you have to find a spot where you want to sync your positions from, and it's not obvious, and it's all everything has some downside to it. But anyway, so I'm trading away on that on Ethereum and Bitcoin futures. And these are futures contracts. These are not like the actual cryptos. These are actually futures contracts on the crypto. So you trade them the same way as you do these long, short positions, one contract, two contracts, stuff like that. And you trade them on margin exactly the same as you do here. Now they're also adding oil, gold, and actually perpetual gold futures are coming out now. So they're growing that part of it pretty aggressively. Anyway, thought I would give you an update on that one. So as soon as I have something I feel comfortable with, I'll start making it available for any early adopters who don't want to try it out. Alrighty, guys, wrap it there. 10 more minutes and we get news. So good trading, and I'll see you back at 11:30 for the next update. Later.